How do the laws get found when they don't know where to go? And I've been shaking. Not many more twists and turns before I find the road. And I've been hoping for sunrise. I heard the dawn of hope can even light the way home. Just give me sunrise.
Welcome
There
to
is
the
a
Purpose
myth that
Podcast,
when
where
you're in
I'm
the
your
mist,
host,
you
Dr.
can
Jazz,
never
and we
let
journey to
it
purpose
go.
together.
You can
Today, I
never
have with me Jamar and Denise Smith. How are y'all doing?
Doing good.
Hello, doing well.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you need to watch on YouTube because they just look good sitting next to each other. Okay, you need to watch this on YouTube. And as y'all know, I just read their bios and we get started. So that's what we're gonna do today. But as a reminder, please send us a text message. You can now text us. And yeah, I would love to get your text message and respond to you. So let me tell you about Jamar and Denise. Jamar and Denise Smith are members of the Word Christian Center. They are parents of Harmony Grace and Jaylen. They are the founders of Cuts of Wisdom Barbershop, a driver for the Alexandria Fire Department, and assistant principal for Rapides Parish School Board. They have been together for 12 years and married for 8.5 years. They enjoy traveling, spending time with their family, learning new things, and trying new foods. Welcome again, Jamar and Denise Smith.
Thank you
Welcome
for
to the
having us
Purpose
on.
Podcast. So as you all know, I reached out to, well, I didn't reach out to them. I kind of just said, y'all gonna be on my podcast. It was kind of a little different than what I usually do.
Yeah.
But this season is all about people who are working in their purpose within their occupation. And I was hearing Denise talk about her job, and I was hearing Jamar talk about the job, and they're going to talk about it in a second. And I was like, no, y'all for real need to be on the episode this season. So I'm excited they're both here. And before we even get to that part, my first question, as you all know, is always, what does purpose mean to you?
So you want me to go first or you? Purpose to me means what your God-given gifts and talents are. So whatever He has given and equipped you to do, then that becomes your purpose. And my purpose so happens to be a mother and to be an educator. So I always knew that I was going to be a teacher from very, very, very little.
Okay.
The only way to go.
Really? Wait,
Yeah.
let me get to the draw. Hold on. I start asking questions.
Okay.
What does purpose mean to you, Jamar?
Purpose means to me, the why that we do anything. You know, why you get up in the morning, why you go to work, why do you, to me, purpose is like, what am I here to do? For it's like, why did God put me here? It's a reason. It's not just by chance. So purpose is pretty much my why for doing whatever I do.
Okay. So Denise, you said you knew from a child, like I was going to be a teacher. I was going to be an educator, and you are now assistant principal at Rapides Parish. Jamar, did you know, like from a child, that this is what you wanted to do?
I knew from 5 years old that I wanted to be a fireman. I always,
So y'all both.
fire truck. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So can y'all speak to the people like me? Because I thought I was gonna be a vet, and I am nowhere near being a veterinarian. So can y'all speak to? I do still like animals. But then can y'all speak to the people who didn't have that, right? So Denise, you're an educator, so you do help people in a certain way, reach and find their purpose. And Jamar, I know you mentor in various ways. So how do y'all help people that weren't as fortunate as you are, people who are still looking and searching, find that purpose?
So in the classroom with little people, I always study how they move, how they react, how they get along with others, how they turn in their best work, and then I find out what type of learner they are. And then after that, then I change my instruction to fit what they need. And then as far as adults or young adults that seem to be stuck, I always ask if you could close your eyes and say, I wish this without any limitations, what would you do? So then that gives a great indication of what they should be doing. It's just that
That's
sometimes they can't see it because it has a whole bunch of distractions or hurdles or challenges. It may seem impossible, but if you think that you could do it, then that's really an indication that that's where you should be doing. where you
That's
should
an
be.
interesting question. So can you say the question again for our listeners? If I close my eyes,
If you close your eyes and someone asks, what would you like to do? Whether money was an option, travel, anything, what would you do? That's the question.
I'm trying to figure
I'm
out what my
still going
answer is.
toward the one what I'll close my eyes and do. I'm working toward that. But it
Yeah.
still is education. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jamar. So what would you say to somebody that was like, they weren't lucky enough to be 5 and realized they want to be firefighters?
Well, with me, it was I was 5, like I said, grew up around the fire station. But after I was little, like I never thought about being a fireman until I started seeking God about it. And I was recently I was describing the situation. It would be like I had a coloring paper, piece of color paper with a fire truck on the page, but it's not colored in. It's just in black and white. And when I started praying, I went to church one night, and this lady after church, she just said, "Jamar, you ever thought about being a fireman?" And so the colors came to the picture, and I saw my childhood and all of that. So I'm not saying everybody's gonna have that experience, but I know the person that will give you that experience is God. So that's why I always push a person to just, hey, go in your prayer closet and just, if you ask God for anything, he's not gonna he's not gonna not give it to you. He don't want you not to find your purpose. So if you set that time aside, he's gonna show you. So that's for me.
That's good. So you're saying, what age did you go back to be like wanting to be a firefighter?
So this was 21.
21. Okay, so Denise, you were working towards being an educator this whole time. Jamar was, we don't know what Jamar was doing. He was doing something else. And then he decided he wants to be a firefighter. So can y'all tell me about those journeys, right? So Denise working, like getting the degrees, doing whatever to become an educator, and Jamar not doing those things to become a firefighter, like, because those stories matter. I feel like people need to hear. So can y'all tell us that journey?
So my first year teaching was in Rapides Parish at a school in Pineville, and I taught 1 year, and I hadn't quite finished my teaching certification to be a teacher. So the first year I was an official teacher, and the second year I was invited to be a substitute teacher. And so, but I could continue as a substitute teacher, but I declined that because I am a teacher, not a substitute teacher. So then I moved to Texas, and I got certified in Texas, and I lived there maybe 3-4 years. And then after living in Texas, then I moved to Shreveport. Then I lived there a few years, and then I moved back home, and then that's when we got married. But in between there, trying to pass the Texas test and certification, it wasn't very easy. So I would have to fast, I would have to pray, and literally learn to hear the voice of God of whenever he told me to study or to stop here or to read 3 more chapters, stop, skip that chapter, go to the next one. You had enough for today, start early. So I had to so I think I know he was training me to hear his voice even through the challenges. Because even though I knew from a little girl that I was going to be a teacher, during that time when it was hard, I started saying, well, maybe I could do something else. I'm tired of trying to pass this test. But the last time when I totally followed all of the directions, I ended up passing, and then I was Texas certified. And then when I moved back home, I didn't have to do Louisiana because I had taught in Texas so long.
But tell her about when you did take the last test, all the noise, the racket was going on during the testing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like so physical racket? I'm sorry. I usually take notes, and I'm not
yes.
I'm looking around.
Okay. I usually I forgot about that. The last and final time that I took the exam, because I took it several times. I think it may have been the third time. I don't remember. I'm guessing. But there was a testing proctor. She wore heels. She wore heels, and she would pace herself up and down the hall. Outside of the building, there was construction where they had the wrecking ball, it kept banging against the buildings because they were tearing things down. So I had to really focus and dig in. So if I had listened and focused on the noise and distractions, I would have just flopped. But I had to focus. And then my other on the road from after being a teacher, then I became a master teacher teaching teachers. And then from there, I was appointed assistant principal. And then I had to finish my leadership hours to finish that. And then I also had to take another test then too. So it's been a God thing all along.
So I have a few questions that I wrote down before we get to Jamar's story. My first, before we get there, why that lady wear heels?
That's what my mind kept asking. Like, did you know we're taking a test? Like everybody else.
She was like walking around, like she literally was walking through
up and down. Yes.
And why they didn't reschedule y'all test if they knew it was gonna be restriction?
I asked the same thing. I just had to stay focused because I was done at that point. They're like, this is the last time I'm taking this test, so you better focus and dig in.
Because I feel like if people fail, they can say, no, I need to take a test for free because that wasn't conducive environment to taking a test.
But you know what I also learned through kingdom perspective is it may be loud and messy
We move on, girl.
and hard, but he graces us. So
Amen.
So if you look at it through that way, I mean, naturally, like, golly, yes, you should have known to not wear heels. But kingdom perspective, it's a lesson that I only carry. So
I tell people all the time, either if the waves are low or the waves are high, you are still called to the ocean. Yeah. It don't matter if it's a pretty day at the beach or a storm. Right. If the Lord told you to go in the ocean, you're supposed to go. So, amen. All right, I'm still a little mad for you, but you over it, so I'll get over it, girl. I'm pissed. All right, I'm gonna get over next week, but I feel the type of way about that lady. I get mad for my people I no problem than mine. Me, I get over it, but I'm gonna be mad for about 3 more days. Okay, so the question that I had is 2 questions that popped in my head as you were talking. One thing is the determination, because you said I knew I wasn't a sub, I knew I was a teacher, and that speaks volumes to don't cheapen your purpose. So how did you come to that resolve of, I get that you trying to maybe be a sub, but where was it something in you, or you were just like, nah, like how did you get to that? I'm not sub.
Inside, as I'm being offered, I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna be able to do that one.
Yeah.
And then I have great parents, and they hear the voice of God too, and they have a relationship with Jesus. So we knew they packed me up, moved me out, and took me to Texas, and they dropped me really quick.
So I mean, obviously God and your spirit, but also having support. People, like you said, I had great parents and great parents moved you. Because I think there's something in that, even when people are on this path to purpose and trying to get there, they will cheapen it. Like, well, maybe I am supposed to be a sub, or well, maybe I am supposed to be a para, or maybe I am supposed to just be around education and work in the office, instead of having that resolve of, no, I'm supposed to be where I am right now. So I love that. And I feel like people need to hear that. And then the second thing is your reliance on the Holy Spirit. I think that level of listening to stop study, to study this, how did you develop that ear? Because that is a level of being in tune with the Holy Spirit that people desire, right? And it's counterintuitive because God doesn't work the way we want it to work. There are days where God is like, sit down somewhere, So how did you develop that piece?
Oh, the more you get to know Jesus, you can't deny, you don't want to deny him. So you want to, just like my earthly dad, I want to make him proud. It's the same thing with Jesus, but it takes trial and error for the still small voice. Sometimes you'll hear stop and turn this way, and then I keep straight and I end up behind traffic, or So it's trial and error learning his voice. But the more you do it, then the more you know it. So when he says it, you just know it.
I love that. I love that. And then, oh, you already spoke to the fighting focus part, so that was good. That was my last question about your story, because that lady, I told you, I'm still gonna be mad about that lady. Jamar.
I also want to say that there are awesome parents that I know and substitutes, so I often check in with them, like, you're comfortable here, or do you have a desire to go higher? And if they're good with that, then that's awesome, because they're walking their purpose. But if they're not and there's a push, then I help them get there too.
Oh, that's good.
Also, by pulling others up when you see gifts in them too.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that speaks to the education background in you in general, right? As I'm also an educator, and I'm always looking at my students, and I'm always picking out, and I'm always offering, ways to help them reach their goals, yes, whether it's in my class or not. And I think that's just the educator in us wanting to. I tell my students, like, I just want to see you do good, whatever that looks like. Like, come see me. They don't come see me, but come see me. That type of thing. So Jamar, tell us your story. So you're 5, you want to be a firefighter. You don't think about it again till you're 21. What's going on? Like, did you have a plan between 5 and 21, or what was going on there?
Well, I'm the oldest of my siblings. So I say that in context where I was the first to do a lot of things. I was the first grandchild, my mom's first son. So I wouldn't say I was forced to grow up quickly, but it was a lot of pressure to be the oldest and to be a good example. So when I was in school, I tried to get good grades and stuff like that, and just try to, I guess, be a good example. But so we moved a lot. So I went to several different schools. So now that, I am in the community as a barber and a fireman, I know a lot of people just from going to schools, but also from having siblings. But so I guess my senior year, I knew I was supposed to, like, I really had a desire to go to the military. Cause I knew service was in my heart, because I didn't even think about the fire department at that time. I just knew it was a service thing in my heart. And so I actually, in high school, I signed up for the Marines, and I received a Courage Award in the assembly. I didn't know they was gonna have no assembly or none of that. And they called me on stage to receive a award, and I still got that award in the office. But so I went through the process of being a Marine. So when you're in high school, they got something called the DEP, or the Delayed Entry Program. So basically saying that after you graduate high school, then you're gonna go and get not sworn in, where you're gonna go to basic training. So I got sworn in like October of my senior year. And then when I went to the place that you get sworn in, which is called MEPS, when it had questions about your beneficiary, I just lost all my peace. Like, picture a 17-year-old thinking about his final, moments, or who he's leaving his, he never thought about nothing like that at that age. So I didn't start, I didn't feel like that was the direction anymore. And so a couple of months went on, I stayed in it, but then I started talking to my mom, and then finally I went and talked to the recruiter, and I said, well, I don't really think I'm gonna go in this direction. And he released me from that, and I went on to college. And so when I was in college, my second year, I had a son. And so that was the ultimate, man, you got to get your life together. You got a son, you got to show him the road. Like, that was the ultimate, like, change for my life. So that's what made me seek God on, what am I going to do? I'm a sophomore in college. I'm not done with school yet. I have this son I got to provide for. So that was the urgency at that moment. And so I went to church. I'm telling you, I prayed maybe on a Monday, go to church on a Wednesday. After church, here's this lady asking me about being a fireman, and the colors everything comes rushing back.
Oh, that's good. I learned so much. I was trying not to laugh at you saying your beneficiary scared you, but I could imagine like being 17, be like, who gonna get what when? I'm not so even for my first, I am 34. This is my first real job. Judge me if you want to, okay? This is my first real job. And they asked me that question as well. Like, when you die, who will you want? And I was like, wait, what? Like, I'm gonna be at this job? But first off, I will quit a job. So if I don't have this job next year, don't say nothing. But I was like, I would be at this job long enough to die here? Like, that was crazy to me. So I had that same revelation. But at 17, I could not imagine somebody asking me who my beneficiary is. That absolutely not. But that's the grace of God for your recruiter just to let you out, because that doesn't happen. Like, so was there no conversation? Was there like?
I told him how I was feeling, but he was a guy. His name was Sergeant Tate. I remember him, and he was from California. We just had a conversation, and he understood. And he said, he wished me the best, but yeah, it wasn't enough.
That is so interesting, because sometimes they say you sign a paper, son or daughter. Mm-hmm. What'd you say, Denise? I'm sorry.
I was agreeing with you. No, because you signed.
Yeah, like that's okay, Jesus. So when you were going to college, what did you think you were going to do? Like, what did you go to school to do?
First of all, it was engineering. But in my heart the whole time, it was really business. Business administration is really what I went for.
Okay. And y'all own the business now?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me that story, because we ain't even talked about that. How does that even fit in? Y'all have full-time jobs. So how do you even run a business that you have to be at? Like, this is not an online business. This is a business you have to show up to. How does that even fit into the purpose conversation? The life, y'all have 2 kids. Like, how does this all, you know what I'm trying to say? Answer the question. Y'all know what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I was telling people. So the business is a barbershop. And so I started cutting around the time I was in college, which I was just cutting my brother's hair. And so fast forward, this is probably 06 when I started cutting. Maybe in 2009, when we met, maybe in 2010, I get the name for the barbershop, which is Cuts of Wisdom. There's not many shops with that name. I mean, I know they don't have that name, but that's a unique name. Mm-hmm. And so I often tell people, like, don't put a time frame on your gift or your dream, because you don't know how long it's going to take. But if you get the name of something, which is God gave, like he gave Adam the ability to name everything. So why we call something a horse or all this, it goes back to that purpose. So I got the name for the barbershop way back in 2010, but the shop didn't open to 2019, right before COVID. You know what I mean? So it was a whole.
I didn't realize that.
It was a whole lot that went into that. Like, she was living in Shreveport in 2012, and she moved back in 2013. I started in the fire department in 2013. And so I first started working in the barbershop in 2012, and I was working up under a guy. So I was an apprentice. And so, which led to me wanting to be a business owner, but I learned a lot at the time. But to save time for the story, we opened the shop in 2019, right before COVID. And then when COVID hit, we brought the shop home right before COVID. So we've been we have the shop at our home, but it's not in our home. It's a part of our home that we was able to turn into a barbershop. And so people are able to book appointments when I'm not at the fire station. And we just been blessed to be able to do it for what, 4 years?
Mm-hmm. Building coming soon.
Building coming soon, though.
Building coming soon. If you live in
Building coming soon.
Okay. So Denise, tell me, like, your thought process, right? Because y'all got a lot going on, you know. So were you just like, okay, Jamar, whatever you say, or like, what was your thought process when it comes to this barbershop right before COVID? Because for school,
yes,
COVID was crazy. So you're opening a barbershop in COVID. Yeah.
Jamar loves to cut hair, period. So I see where my gifts fit in with that.
Yeah.
With organization, accounting, banking. And so that's his love, and it's our shop. And so it was you go with it. Because I'm marrying him, so that's our plan.
Come on, our
Go
plan.
with it.
And I'll tell you one thing, it's like
And I get to swipe.
she gets to swipe, she likes to swipe. If you give her an idea, I had the idea, I say it's time to branch out to start the business. I just knew, just know. The next day, we got an EIN number. It's like
I like that too.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, bruh, it's like just that quick. So if she know I'm serious about something, then we're full-fledged into it.
And he loves to cut hair.
And you said, let's just get this together.
Cool. Yes.
You keep going out a little bit, Denise. What you say? You think it's what?
I just said again that he loves to cut. He enjoys doing that.
Yeah. So you, as his wife, was just like, how can I support him in that? Yeah, I love that. That's good, because I would have asked 8 million questions. I would have got the EIN. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I would have done all that. But I would have asked about 5 million questions. Like, okay, so how does it go work? It's at our house? What that mean? People gonna be driving up to the house? See, I'll be asking all them questions. Yes. Like, I would be confused.
But they don't come in separate location. That's the girl.
Okay.
I get that too.
Yeah, like, because my father also was a firefighter. I think I shared with you all. So I do understand that a lot of firefighters have other jobs. My dad painted homes on his off day, so I do get that that's common, because you have so much, not off time, because it's not off of your shift, but you know what I'm saying. You have so much time that you can allow to do other things. So I definitely understand that. So my next question is together, right? So we have a firefighter, we have a school principal. Denise, I've been trying to sub for a long time. Who are you talking to?
RPSB.
I sent my application.
And then you've sent it already?
Yeah. And I called.
Resources.
I called.
Okay, I'll call for you.
Thank you. Okay. So remember, this episode is about people working in their purpose in their occupations. And because y'all are a couple, I want to talk about, like, did y'all even think about that in the dating process? Like, do our purposes align? We have a firefighter, we have an assistant principal, and we have a barber. And you talked a little bit about, Denise, when you're talking about, well, I'm good at banking and finance. Like, were these intentional conversations, or was it just like, oh, it's just all falling into place? That's kind of the question. Like, how does this all fit together?
I would say, it goes back to, y'all know him? So
wait, what?
I have never sat down at a lady's table before or since I met her. So Chili's used to be my favorite restaurant. Me and my buddy go to a restaurant, and I see her. She's at the table with her sister, and the two twins, Rachel and Rebecca. And I told my buddy, I said, hey man, I'll be right back. So I just go over there, and I guess I introduced myself, and I just sat down, and she looking like, y'all know him? Who is this? They laughed at me, they clowned me. I didn't get no number. I didn't get no number, no name.
Dang.
3 months later, she comes to the Word Christian Center though. And I'm able to say, I'm the guy from Chili's.
Oh, wow.
I've been going to church with Aggie, which is her aunt. I didn't know that, but so everything aligned. It was like we didn't have to have those conversations because everything just gelled. But I did get embarrassed.
Then you said you was a
Yeah.
That is so. I would have clowned you too. I was like, sir, who are you? Sitting at this table. So Denise, tell us about, from your perspective, like, were you and your sister and whomever these twins are, hey twins, were y'all like what was the conversation when he left? Like, did you think about him when he left? How was
You did say he was cute in the cap though.
I probably did. But I I was totally closed. So
yeah, you weren't thinking about him at all.
no.
Okay. And then so we fast forward 3 months and we're at the Word Christian Center. And then now let's tell us what happened then. What happened after that?
So
why y'all look at each other like that?
Because did you ask? Because he's the memory collector.
So
Okay.
after church, my nephew TJ, he's 15 now. He was a baby, and he was born in April, so this was maybe June, which is whenever that 3 months, I guess. So she was holding him, and she went out in the foyer, and I said, "Is that your son?" She's like, "No, this is my nephew." And so we got to talking, and she was going back to Shreveport after church. So we ended up exchanging numbers, and I think I talked to her all the way back to Shreveport. Yeah.
Okay, well, at least I'm about to say if you were got no number the second time, I'm gonna start questioning your skill set now. But okay, so second time it worked. Thank you, Denise, for opening up and giving me a number. Here we are, 12 years later. What is it, 12 years?
That was 09, so that was 15 years.
15 years, yeah. Okay, so thank you, Denise, to you.
15 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, thank you to Denise, because the first time you had no chance, Jamar. I saw it on her face. She still was like, I don't know who that man was who said that.
I'm still glad I did it. I had to.
That's good. You felt a prompting of some sort to go ahead and introduce yourself. I love that. So y'all y'all a funny story. So all this happening and y'all are now in this place of just, do y'all feel like, because I just wonder how because people just have different schedules and different, but God is the aligner and he creates the time for all of these things to be put together. So how do y'all see y'all skill set at all your different places working together as a couple?
We use each other's strengths. So as skills, so where he's social, I don't have to be.
I gotta tell you a story about Denise.
So
I'm gonna tell you my first conversation with Denise, but keep going.
What'd you say, Jasmine?
So I'm gonna tell him my first comment. I hadn't even brought it back to you because I said I don't even know if she remembered that first conversation, but I'm gonna tell y'all on this podcast how Denise did me.
So on Sunday, I think I remember. I think
when I was like, I know your husband's cousin. Denise blew me off, Jamar.
And
I know your cousin. We work together at NSU. I'm saying all this stuff on the podcast, but we work together at NSU. Because he showed me y'all's pictures.
I tell you that.
He showed me y'all's picture, and he was like, "You know these people you go to work?" I was like, "Yeah, I've seen them. I don't know them." And then like the next week, I saw Denise, and I was like, "I don't know you, but your husband's cousin is my friend at work." And Denise was like, "Yeah," and she was like, "Okay," and kept walking. I was like, "I'm trying to make friends with this church."
Was it after church and I have to work the bookstore?
After Wednesday. It was Bible study. It was young adult Bible study. Denise, I was struggling trying to make friends, and Denise was not having it, okay? She was like, "Oh, okay, I may know him," and kept walking. I was like, well.
And Ventric.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shout out to Ventric if you listen to this episode. But I was just like, well. And now you say you're an introvert. I'm like, it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense, but keep going with your story.
But I do remember how we met.
Yeah.
I do remember you telling me that.
Yeah, okay, so you're an introvert. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes. He's social. And then also just personality-wise and raising our kids, it just works. Where I'm hard, he's soft. Where he's soft, I'm hard. And it just works.
It just flows.
Yeah.
So for people who are, because y'all are a couple, we just want to talk about couple stuff. So people who are looking for their partner, right? And they are purpose-driven people. They are people who know what God has called them to do, whether it be in their occupation or not. What would be some advice that you would give to them? Because again, y'all, I was raised with a firefighter as well. Like those schedules are not. There are things that my dad didn't show up to just because he couldn't. Not because he didn't want to be my dad, but just because he couldn't. So how do these conversations go, and how should someone that's looking to be partnered, working in purpose, knowing their purpose, how should they not find, what conversations are important? There we go.
Okay, so I would say this, even now it's more vivid for me now that I am a father of a daughter. So to the women, so you have a natural father, which has a plan, a love for you, a desire for you, but you have a spiritual father, but it's just as real, but it's even more realer. So I look at it like this. In the natural, I asked her father for her hand in marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before all of that, I had to go to God because that's his daughter. He has her best interests. So as a man, you got to do that too. And as a woman, if you put your heart in God's hand, then about unequally yoked stuff. If you put as Jasmine, if you put your heart in God's hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the man that's desiring you to be able to get your heart got to go through who?
God.
Right. So if he don't come that route,
I was gonna say my daddy. Did that? I realized that's not what. That's why I paused, Denise, because I was like, my dad? No, God. Yes.
God first. But then he's gonna develop a relationship with your dad as well, and you're gonna know. So that kind of should alleviate the woman out there trying to make something happen, or vice versa. But it goes back to our relationship with God. You know what I mean? So like you said, we never really even thought we didn't know how busy we were gonna be with our schedules and all that, but God did. And it just works. Like she's able to, the days I'm at the fire station, shoot, I thanked her the other day. I don't know how she does all of that. She gets up early, take Gracie to her mother's house, got to be at school at a certain time and got to stay after school, and get back home and do all the stuff she does. I don't know how she does all of that, but it all works out.
It does.
So I hope that helps somebody with what I was saying.
So you did, but everybody's not a believer.
Right.
And you didn't really answer like the what should we be looking for besides, because everybody's not a believer that listens to the podcast.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So what can people who are not believers, who don't, God, Jesus, we can speak of those things freely, but for
You
other
mean
people,
like when they're looking for,
when they're courting.
Mm-hmm. So everyone may not be a believer, but everyone was created by God. So inside of them, there is a knowing, and which gives you red lights, green lights, and yellow lights. So I would say you trust the better way of saying it, the red flags. Within you, whether or not you're a believer, within you when you shouldn't go that way, or if you don't like the way they make you feel, or they talk down on you, if you're treated in a way that's opposite of your standards for yourself, then that's a great indication of a yes or a no.
Yeah.
And then I would say too, for the non-believer, just so you would know that if you're a girl, then you are the good thing. So when someone finds you, then they're finding a good thing. Like you're digging for a diamond is where it is until you dig and down there to find it. So you can at least know that if you don't,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Come on,
you have to know who you are. So
yeah, I love that. Because I'm wondering for especially I actually have a discipler who gave me this challenge, which I hadn't done it yet. I need to do it. But one of the things she told me to do, she was like, because I'm very clear about what God has called me to do. She was like, I need to interview women who are very clear what God has called them to do, very purpose, that are successfully married. Because there is a type of person that has to be partnered with you, right? And it's usually a purpose-filled man, hopefully, that is also not bothered by, because I could be easily intimidated if my wife was an assistant principal. If I wasn't working in my purpose, I could easily be like, this lady, she doing too much. you know. And then if you wanted to be a principal in the next 5 years, I would be like, it's easy for us to do that. But if you're working in your purpose, if everybody there is working in their purpose, there is no intimidation within the coupling.
Right. You're walking in
And
your authentic self.
yes.
When you don't have to compare.
Well, I would say because we're dealing with people that aren't believers and stuff like that, but every company has a structure. You don't see the CEO being the worker. He's in a position, or she's in that position for a reason. She started that company, and they have structure. So even in a relationship, there's structure, even in, whatever there is. But when she said it herself, she said when she married a man, or we married each other, she married a plan. So she didn't, she had some stuff inside of her, and we both had some stuff inside of us, but she saw what I was passionate about, and she just linked up to that. And also some things like, she can get you like, okay, when I was becoming a fireman, there's two sides. There's medical, and there's, as your dad, there's fire side and the medical side. Well, I passed the fire side with flying colors, but the EMT, the body, the human body, I prayed to God and asked him to show me, because he's the maker of this. But she had to show me what, like she was saying, what type of test taker I was. I'm not a type of test taker.
Oh, that's a good story.
I'm not the type of test taker to read a question and to just get the answer. But if I put myself in the question, Jamar, what happened if you go on scene and you see a guy that's laying on the ground not breathing? I'm gonna check for his pulse. I'm gonna see. I know what I'm gonna do the first thing. So if I do that, what type
Kinesthetic.
Kinesthetic. So I'm a kinesthetic type of person when I take tests. So when she did that, she unlocked a whole different side of me that I didn't realize. When I started putting myself in those questions, I passed the test like that, and I had took it 4 or 5 times. So all of that came together with purpose, because she is an educator. She's there to get the best out of whoever that she's dealing with, whether she realizes it or not. Even with our kids, I see it all the time.
Thank you.
No, that is like a perfect example of what I was thinking about, like using both of the skill sets to build the family, to build the plan, to work around, whatever y'all created when y'all came together. Because that's such a dope example of that. Like, I'm trying to pass the test. My wife is an educator. She showed me what type of learner I am, and I passed the test. Like, that only happens when you are coupled with the right person that is also working in their purpose. I'm also a kinesthetic learner. I gotta touch it. I gotta what? You read it in the book and show me on the board means nothing to me. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's watching a YouTube video, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that is like a perfect example of what I mean. Like, the purposes working together to achieve the plan, which, as a believer, I do believe that every marriage has a purpose on earth. And whatever that looks like. And I tell people sometimes it may be just to raise good kids, because you don't know who you're raising. I'm like, you don't know what missionary, what pastor, whatever, and you think you're not doing much in this world, but your children grow up to shape the world, to cure cancer. Like, you just don't know. So I'm always encouraging couples, like, no, like, pour into your children. I ain't got no kids and I ain't married, but I'm around kids all day.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't remember what my next question was. I got off because that was so good. Like, using your skill sets together, that was just so good. Jamar, I want to talk a little bit more about cutting hair, because I'm sensing that there are some conversations that happen there that change lives. Does that happen? Yeah, like, does that happen? What does that look like? Because that is also a part of your purpose, and in that specific space, what does that look like?
Well, like I say, go back to the name. So when I saw Cuts of Wisdom, and I had an artist, her brother is in video and all kind of stuff like that. He hooked me up with a guy that I gave him the idea of what logo I wanted. And the logo we have is a person sitting at in a chair looking up at me, who is the barber, and I'm looking back at him. And it's a bubble of dialogue that said Cuts of Wisdom. Now, the wisdom not just coming back from me, it's coming from both of us, because we're talking, we have a conversation. So man, you would be amazed at the level of little kids, from little kids all the way up to teenagers, college students, up to men, just what goes on in there. Like from the movie Barbershop, like what Cedric the Entertainer said, that's our country club. That's our place where we can lay our hair down, have a conversation as men, just build off of one another. And it's just like, I can't put a price on it. I can't just level one thing that happens there. It's just so much. She'll say sometimes, I heard y'all in there, y'all was having a good time in there.
It makes me laugh when I hear them laugh.
and so, like you say, so also with, like, we don't live close to a lot of people. We live kind of far out. And for people to come out here and this is their shop, it's like, I don't know, it does something to me. Like, people pass up all these barbershops to come out here to get a cut from Jamar, and this is their place. Like, if I don't cut this week, I'm gonna hear from some people. You know what I mean? Like, they need, so it's real good.
I love that. I love that people are connecting into the God part, because we believe in God. I tell people all the time, my biggest ministry is just being myself. Walking into the room and being Jasmine because the Holy Spirit lives in me is my biggest ministry. Right. And and people are mad, not just because they don't get their haircut, but because they don't get to be around you. And I think we take that part for granted, right? Like it's not, it's not just, man, Jamar on vacation. It's like, no, they need that. I also have worked in many different school systems, and there was I'll never forget our administrator, or not administrator, the front desk administrator. She was like, Dr. Wise, every time you leave this campus, something go down. And I said, because of the peace of the Lord travels with me. She was like, every time you're on a trip, a parent call, flipping that, like literally every time you leave this campus, something goes down. And that reminded me that, no, I carry, right? Like, I carry peace. I carry whatever. So be hosting the Holy Spirit is, people need that. People need that. So Denise, tell us some stories about being an assistant principal and teaching teachers. And I heard you say in passing that you've been at 4 schools. Like, what is that? What is all that? How does that go towards your purpose?
I have been under some tremendous leaders. So I have gleaned from them. And one in particular, she was the most transparent. So I learned early on what being an administrator would look like. And then from each school, I've learned that I'm the biggest learner, even though I'm labeled a leader, but I'm the biggest learner. So that means if there's an issue with the child and they're not getting something, then I have to find out why aren't they getting it. So then I get into the student work, and then I teach the teacher how to diagnose the student work, and then we learn and grow together. So I would say that would be the biggest thing is you're the lead learner and the master servant.
I
Not
love
the other way
that.
around of what you would think it would be.
Okay, you've been having a lot of quotable things.
Yes.
What'd you say?
A lot of quotable
Yeah,
things.
you got a lot of quotable things. So say that one more time.
It's like
you're
the master servant and the lead learner. You're not, just because you're labeled leader, that just means you're the one serving others. That's how I see it.
I always tell people, y'all don't know what it takes to actually be a leader. When people are like, yeah, I want to be the assistant principal, I want to be the team lead for my grade, I'm like, are you sure you want to be the team lead for your grade? Are you sure you want to be the assistant principal? Because there is a level of responsibility that comes with that. But if you stay in a place of humility, I love that. Being the lead learner and the master servant. There is I don't want to say you're unstoppable, but you're unstoppable. If you are the leader and the master servant, you are unstoppable, because that level of humility, like, it doesn't mean you're always going to get it right, obviously, but there is a level of humility that comes with that. I love that.
We fail. We don't stay there. Mm-mm.
Oh, I know I'd be failing. Trust me, people tell me. That would have failed. Yeah, and I'd be like, okay, we're going to do better next time. All right.
Yep.
So my next to last question is always, if people walked up to you randomly and was like, what is your purpose? What would you answer?
Which one?
Both
You,
of y'all.
oh,
What you mean?
Oh, what is my purpose? My purpose is to ultimately be the light while simply being myself without compromise. And
I
then
love
that way,
that. Be the
you don't have, when you don't have compromise, then you're getting the best for yourself and of yourself. But it's a daily discipline. So that's what I would say.
okay. And Jamar, somebody say, what's your purpose?
my purpose, I mean, it might sound not really cliche, but my purpose is to lead not just men, but lead men and women into their purpose. So that's why I want the building, because I can cut hair. I mean, I don't want to inconvenience my family, but I can cut hair out of anywhere. But
Anywhere.
to have a building, I'm gonna empower other barbers not to just be a barber, but to be a business owner, because that's your business. Whether you're renting a space, so if you go, if you all, if a person was a business owner on his own, he would have to go get a space, go get utilities. But if you're inside of a business, you're still your own owner. So I wouldn't be their necessarily boss. I would be your CEO maybe, but you still a CFO, you know, but that's the mindset I would have. And also the people in the community, a barber is a person, and that's why this is the quote that I live by as in my profession as a fireman. I get to help people feel good, because when you call a fireman, we're there to uplift you, to help you, get you out of the situation you're in. And then as a barber, I get to make you look good. So I get to help people feel good and make people look good. And that's, man, that's God, you know. So
I love that.
that's my purpose.
Y'all both said that very succinctly. I love that. Oh, and then the last,
What did you say, Jen?
y'all said it both succinctly. Now you got me saying the word again.
I
Now I feel
like
conscious.
that.
Now I feel conscious. Like, wait, did I say it wrong? You both said it very succinctly, and I think to the believer part of us, and this is not to punish people who are listening that are believers who don't know, you should be able to say it succinctly. Like I believe that God is clear with his children. You know, like
Mhm.
I yeah, if people were to ask me that question, I have the answer. You know, I am created to feed God's sheep. That is what he told me to do. That is physical, that is mental, that is spiritual. I feed God's sheep. Um, and that looks like a podcast, that looks like a grocery store, that looks like, you know, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
But that is clearly what it is. And I feel like believers, it's not to make you feel bad if you're a believer and you're listening. Just go ask the Lord. But I do believe that he speaks to us clearly.
Mhm.
Also, one other thing when you said that was we have a podcast as well. And
Okay. We was gonna put the information in the thing, but okay, tell us about the podcast tomorrow.
no, it wasn't to advertise,
No,
but I
I'm
was
joking.
thinking about that's another platform God gave us to help people with their purpose. And it's called the Voices of Change. And it really is it's a spotlight on giving the person a platform to tell their story.
I
So
love that.
that's in a nutshell, that's what it's about. It's about the people of the community, or the people, because everyone has a story.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can reach someone.
Yeah, I love that. Y'all gonna let me on? When y'all gonna let me on? I got a story.
Ready?
Wait,
Whenever.
do I have a story? Let me get my
Of
story
course you
straight.
have a story.
You have
Let
a
me get it straight.
You have a
Let me
story?
let me figure out what it is first before I get a pocket. But okay, then my last question is: if people get nothing else from this podcast, they listen to us for 50-odd minutes, and they're like, "Yeah, they said a whole bunch of great stuff." But as an educator, you understand people only listen; they only absorb about 10% of what you say. What do you both want them to leave this podcast with?
I would like you to leave with, you can do it. It's not impossible, it's obtainable. You can do it. You have to make the steps, but you can do it. And also know that you are loved infinitely.
I love that.
I would say that whether you are a believer or not a believer, that don't change the fact that Jesus is the reason, and Jesus is the key to everything. I'll leave you with this, but when I'm in that shop, I cut maybe, every profession that you could think of. And I can honestly tell those guys, if you're struggling with something, go to the master fireman, the master construction worker, the master truck driver, which is Jesus. He's everything. He says, I am whatever you need me to be. So that's what I would leave the person with. Knowing that Jesus is the key.
Right, I love that.
Me
All
too.
right, well, thank you to Jamar and Denise Smith for being on this episode of the Purpose Podcast with Dr. Jazz, where we journey to purpose together. And just let you all know that we will have another episode in 2 weeks. Please don't look for us next week because we won't be here. And yeah, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
I heard the dawn of hope can even light the way home. Just give me sunrise. There is a myth that when you're in the mist, you can't ever feel cold. You can't ever feel cold. And let this